I am Wusur of the clan Banu Yatash. I was born a son of corsair traders, raised among the creaking decks of Aserai dhows that sailed the southern seas of Calradia. My father taught me the secrets of the trade winds and the hidden routes known only to smugglers and raiders. The ship that carried my family made long and tedious voyages, sometimes transporting silk and spices through dangerous waters, and sometimes ambushing Vlandian ships when honest profit dwindled. But like most village children, I also knew the hardships of land. I helped work the fields and carried our goods to the marketplace. Many times I traveled to the nearest town, selling my family's produce and buying the supplies we needed. It was hard work, but I loved the bustle of the market, the voices of traders, the smell of spices, and the feeling that the world was larger than my quiet home. Before I turned 20, I earned my first real mark as a warrior. Not everyone who answers the levy sees battle, and not everyone who sees battle survives it. But I did more than survive. I faced an enemy warrior in single combat, and I killed him in full view of my comrades. I am filled with energy and ambition, and the road of adventure lies before me. I am Wusur, son of the sea, of the clan Banu Yatash. My journey starts in Tubalis, a small village on the east coast of Aserai Desert. And on that journey, my fate changed forever. One day, I traveled with two of my friends to the city of Quyaz to buy supplies for my father. Quyaz was different from my village. It was huge. I couldn't wait to get there. So we packed our stuff on a horse and leave the next morning. When we arrived in Quyaz, we were exhausted from the long journey through the desert. The heat, the dust, and the endless road had drained our strength. It did not take long for us to realize just how large the city truly was, its walls towering above us, its streets crowded with traders, travelers, and mercenaries from many lands. With tired legs and empty stomachs, we searched the streets for a tavern. At last we found one, a place where we could sit, rest, and enjoy the riches the great city had to offer. But the wind carried no smoke from our hearth, and the house stood silent. A gang of raiders, bandits who had come down into the sands, had attacked while I was gone. My father, my mother, they were both dead. The home I had known all my life was left broken and empty. That day, the sea felt colder and the world far more cruel. Then, a messenger entered the tavern, his face grim, his voice heavy with bad news. When he spoke, the warmth of the room vanished, and my heart felt as cold as the desert night. My home had been attacked, my parents were dead, and nothing would ever be the same again. We had to leave Quyaz at once. With the money I had meant for supplies, I instead bought food and basic provisions. The roads ahead were dangerous, and I knew we would need more men if we were to survive them. Fortunately, I still had 2 more friends in the nearby village of Hiblet. They were good men who might be willing to travel with us, even along the dangerous roads that lay ahead. The 2 men agreed to come with us, and they had known my father, so they shared my grief. There were no long arguments, no hesitation. That same night we spoke of what had happened, and by the end of it we had made our decision. The first light, we would ride for Tubalus. We needed a plan, not only to avenge my parents, but to discover who had raided our village. But vengeance alone would not carry us far. Before anything else, we needed money, and we needed more men. The world had changed for me, and the road ahead was not an honest one. I had no choice but to turn my closest friends into a small band of raiders. If we had any chance of gaining the coin, the strength, and the answers we needed, we would have to take them by force. The 5 of us set out on the road, the desert wind at our backs, and vengeance heavy in our hearts. The journey had barely begun when trouble found us. Along the dusty road, a group of looters appeared, rough men with hungry eyes and cheap weapons. There were 9 of them, and only 5 of us. They thought we would run, but we knew how to fight, and we had no reason left to fear death. So we stood our ground, steel in our hands, dust swirling around our feet as the fight began. The clash was quick and brutal. Blades struck, shields cracked, and the sound of battle echoed across the empty road. In the end, we were still standing. 9 looters had attacked us, but only 5 men walked away from that fight, and those 5 were us. After the battle, we made camp by the side of the road, the desert night slowly settling around us. We gathered what the looters had carried, their food, their coin, and the few useful things they had taken from others before us. It was not much, but it was enough for men who had just survived their first fight together. We shared the food and divided the coin between us. For the first time since leaving Quyaz, we allowed ourselves to rest. The fire crackled. The night air cooled the dust on our faces, and despite everything that had happened, we were happy. 5 men, still alive, still together, and the road for Tubalus waiting for us. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the first episode of my adventures. Take care, everyone.